so Matt, you're going to introduce the definition. Hi, Josh here with the Skeptically Reckless podcast. Recklessly Skeptical podcast.
Hi, this is Josh with Recklessly Skeptical.
All right, Joe, you're done. You're done.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
All right, and who are you?
I'm Joe.
He just said that, Josh.
Oh, no, you said Joe. Who are you?
Well, he called me Joe, so I figured if they're listening, they know that was Joe.
And I am Matt, and we are going to talk about the sex-positive movement. And if you don't know what the sex-positive movement is, it's basically promotes and embraces sexuality with no limits, but it does put an emphasis on safe sex and consent.
Okay. So, and then there are some ramifications from that, especially ones that I'm aware of that are very common upon the sex-positive movement. Obviously, it's very supportive of the LGBTQ community. It's that there shouldn't be any shame there. The second ramification is they're mostly for, at least everybody who I'm aware of, is for legalizing prostitution and regulating it. And the third thing that they emphasize is that they're against slut shaming. Slut is in a derogatory way towards someone who decides to have sex frequently. I mean, sex, to most people in the sex-positive movement, and this is how I feel, is that sex is a positive thing. Sex is a good thing. And there's no problem with two consenting adults having sex.
Yeah, sex
Or
is...
3 or 4.
Or three or four.
It's a great thing, and it should be embraced if 2 or more adults want to embrace it and be a part of it. It should be, celebrated.
So let's address the items one at a time. What do we think about safe sex?
It's very important. You don't want to get STDs. If you don't want kids, you need to practice safe sex as well. There's more positives than negatives, I would say, about safe sex.
So, Joe, how do you practice safe sex?
Well, you stand in the mirror, okay, and then you just practice putting it on. My old teacher showed me you pinch the tip and you just roll it down a banana.
Were you guys
Sometimes
alone?
you can use your mouth too.
Were you guys alone when your teacher showed you this?
Yes.
And you're talking, when you say it, you're talking about a condom, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's important. And then also, what do you think about testing as part of safe sex?
Oh no, you need to get tested regularly if you have multiple partners, or even if you have more of a monogamous relationship. It still wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So, Matt, what is the next part, do you think, of the sex-positive movement? Consent, maybe?
Yeah, we can talk about consent.
What's that?
So, Joe,
Yeah.
this is when a boy and a girl really like each other.
Or a boy and a boy.
Or a boy and a boy and a girl and a girl, or 5 girls or 5 boys.
Or transgender and a boy or a girl.
Yeah. And let me clarify, when we say boy and girl, we're talking about the anatomy, and they're all adults here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But consent, that's a very important thing. And you don't want to rape anybody. Rape's not a good thing. So you got to get consent.
So, does no mean no or yes mean yes in your mind, Matt?
No means no, and yes means yes.
No means maybe.
It's... I was talking about this with a friend last night about surprise blowies. And if you give somebody a surprise blowy when they're sleeping...
Oh, you know what? I love that. That's one of my favorite times to wake up. Is like, you're just like, oh, hello. And I mean, you gotta... no, there's still consent in that, because I ask my partner if they like that.
Yeah.
It's like, do you like being woken up to this? And if they say yes, then to me that is consent to wake them up to do something.
Yeah. You don't want to be sleeping over at somebody's house for the first time and nothing happened the night before. You guys just went to sleep and then start doing that to them, you know. They might get upset, but maybe not. But
Well, you know, to clarify, I have been in those situations, but I was half asleep myself. I was dreaming, and one thing led to another. But it was still consensual. If I would have woken up and they were like, "What are you doing?" I would have stopped, of course. You know?
Yeah, and I think that the most important part with that is communication. I mean, knowing what people are cool with you doing and know what they're about sexually.
Well, communication is key in any relationship that you have. Talk with each other. It's one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think that communication is obviously the most important thing in consent. I do worry that there are people who don't understand what yes means yes is and no means no is. That's why I asked the question. Is that yes means yes has come into place because there were a lot of people who are like, well, she didn't say no, we were at a party, blah 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 blah. And really, if you're in a social setting where that pressure might exist, it's far better to assume that it's not okay to do. But if you've been with somebody for a while and you know like what their sex life is about and you know how you fit into that role, I think that of course you can make some assumptions because you've really talked about it beforehand.
I agree, and I think if you have to be extremely pushy in order to get what you want, then I don't know. I couldn't do that. I can't. I can be pushy in a funny, kind of fun way, but I've never been like seriously pushy.
So you try and be seductive, not pushy.
Exactly. But I think some people do get kind of pushy and stuff, and I think if you have to do that, then you should do that.
Yeah, and I think there's an interesting story that we'll get to if we have time. But let's talk about the other parts about being sex positive. So safe sex. I'm trying to think of, there were about 5 different things. And I prefer to say prostitution for last, but we can talk about that now. Actually,
we could do the polyandry. Or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, we kind of did already, but
I thought polyamory.
Polyamory.
Yeah, amory, not andry. Polyandry, if I remember right, is one woman, multiple males.
The opposite of polygamous, basically? Or?
Well, polygamy is 2 different categories. Polygamy can be one male, several females, or one female, several males.
Oh, okay.
And I think polyandry is one female, several males. But I could be wrong on that. If you guys are interested, that's something to Google. Sorry, I don't have that live now. But polyamory is the idea that essentially of having an open relationship. So being with somebody who you spend a lot of time with, who you love and who you're a partner with, but also they can be partners to other people as well. So, I mean, do you guys think that there's anything negative or anything shameful about being part of a polyamorous relationship?
I think it depends. I personally couldn't do it. And I would think some negative things could come out of it. But, I mean, if it works for some people without any problem, then they should be able to do it.
I agree with that 100%. I have friends that are like that, and like Matt says, he doesn't personally think he could do it, but who knows? Maybe in 10 years things can change, and you never know.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a fantastic point there, Joe. With sexuality can be somewhat fluid. Like just because you're a polygamous heterosexual person now, doesn't mean that you have to stay in that box forever. You might be more inclined to include other people into your relationship later on, and those people might be male or female. But strange.
Then, of course, it has to be consensual.
Yeah.
With your partner.
Yeah, and I think that, and again, so there's a lot of complication, and to act like, if I were to act like there isn't a lot of complication in any relationship, polygamous, polyamorous, any kind of relationship,
or even monogamy.
Yeah, I think that you have to. Communication is absolutely key, and that it's on the person who's dissatisfied in the relationship. So if I'm not happy just dating one person, it's on me to communicate that with the person who I'm dating. And then if they decide that they wouldn't be happy with that, then it's on them to decide whether they should end it or not. But it's the initial portion, even if it's uncomfortable, the initial responsibility is on the person who may be dissatisfied.
Agreed, 100%. Because if you're having an issue, you need to bring it up.
Yeah, the other person might not even be aware.
Yeah, and so you bring it up, you talk to them about it, you let them know. If they don't want you to do it, then if you feel like you don't want to do it, or if you feel like you can still be with them and not wanting to do it, but if you still have that urge, you need to either break up, or you know what I mean, you need to make the proper decision.
Yeah, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
Even if it's uncomfortable. It takes some courage to be in a relationship with another human being, even if it's not a sexual one. I mean,
Yes.
there's some courage there.
I agree.
Definitely.
So, there was one other one that I wanted to... Actually,
Prostitution.
let's just get into the most uncomfortable, or what seems to be the most uncomfortable for the most amount of people is prostitution. It's said that prostitution is the oldest job or
Yeah.
oldest profession.
Yeah, the oldest profession.
But it's also the most scrutinized and criticized and outlawed profession, if we could call that a profession now. And as part of the sex positive movement with open and free sex, I'm all for legalizing and regulating that prostitution.
Yeah, I think it should be legalized and regulated. I feel that way about drugs and guns and,
And so when you say regulated, Matt, do you want to go into detail on what you mean?
Yeah, you just want to have laws that, about age and STDs and, lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I distracted.
I think Matt thought that Joe was making a penis joke because he was showing him how far to hold the microphone away from
It was
his
actually
face.
pretty amusing. He gave me this dirty look. It's like, what are you doing?
I totally thought you were penis sized.
Like, no, move the microphone.
Took me a minute.
Yeah, so
But it should be regulated with age and, frequent checks STD checks to protect the client and the
worker.
The worker. And I'm sure there could be a lot of other regulations,
And this is not something that's completely novel. I mean, there are houses in Nevada that have this legalized. I don't think it's legal in Las Vegas, but outside of Las Vegas, I think it is.
The Bunny Ranch.
And I'm not sure how I feel about that because I have 2 daughters and, it stresses me out. It just stresses them.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, so if it were illegal to recruit, so you can't go recruiting people for this, it has to be sought after. If I had daughters, which I don't have any kids, but I would want to make sure that if that's the route that they decided to go, that they have the most protections in place and that they have the least liabilities in place and that they're protected under law. I mean, that's what I think that I would want if I had a daughter who chose to do that.
Yeah, you don't want a pimp that's going to slap him and tell him to wait in the car.
Yeah, and I've heard some horror stories about this lady who she went from California to Vegas on a trip, and then she was talked into into becoming a prostitute, and she was found like 3 months later, is sent next to dead. And what had happened is the pimp had tried to sell her off to other guys, so she had been picked up by the sex trade industry essentially, and then he couldn't do anything with her, and so she wouldn't die, so he wouldn't be charged with murder. He dropped her off at the hospital, and it ended up getting back to him, and he's being charged with a lot of charges. But I mean, that would be a nightmare for me if I were a parent.
That's another great point, Josh, because I mean, if you legalize prostitution, on a national level or whatever, you could potentially get rid of, the sex slave industry. If all these guys just had somewhere to go, or girls, that was legal and safe, they might not be doing some disgusting shit.
Yeah, there still would be a market for the pedophilia side of things, which is like absolutely makes me sick to my stomach to think about. But that
We
market
should
was
make
still
laws out there that even if you're a politician, you can get in trouble for that.
yeah.
Get rid of half of our politicians.
So, do you want to get? There was that story. Do you have that queued up, Matt? With
the 8 steps to confronting your wife's sexual refusal.
So this is kind of coming from the idea that if you are in a biblical marriage, which of course is between a man and a woman, that you're a woman, the wife, is obligated to have sex with a man whenever he wants. And in this guy's defense, he does say that men are also obligated, but he writes for the men.
So wait, so this is an article?
Yes, Matt's.
By, can we say his name or?
Yeah, we have to.
So it's biblical gender roles, and the author. Let's see, I'm not seeing the author
Because he's not dumb enough to put his name on it.
Yeah, it just says biblical gender roles.
It's going to be either on the very end.
It's not on the top, so it's probably the bottom. Let's see. Scroll down.
Or it's going to be in the sidebar.
Now, is this for? Does he have a certain sect or a certain church he belongs to that he writes for?
That's a good question. I don't think we've gone into that much detail on this guy, and I don't know if he's worth that much detail, honestly.
Well, but it's a silly.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to just kind of keep talking for a second while I look for this.
So it's a silly guy who wrote a silly article about his silly religion.
Well, it's worse than
which can be damaging.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Is it's worse than just some guy's opinion. This is how. I mean, he's a professional writer. He's got people who read him, who then.
Well, I've seen a bunch of comments on here.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, I love you," and you're so
And
great.
The sad thing is that
My wife's been doing everything I tell her to do ever since I hit her like you told me to.
He can defend his positions by the dogma in the Bible, you know, and that's a scary thing.
Matt, if you want to get into breaking down the article, I'll start looking for his name.
Okay. So let me scroll. I'm still looking at comments.
Oh, there are hundreds of comments.
I went too far.
Oh.
So I might find the author.
Oh.
I didn't see it there.
Just worry about breaking down the article. I'll find him and we'll mention him before the end.
So there's 8 steps. It's pretty, and the steps are just insane. 8 steps to confronting your wife's sexual refusal. So step 1, rebuke her privately. So, you know, just in the privacy of your own home, you're going to speak gently to her about this issue, because her not wanting to have sex with you is an issue for her. It's, you know,
it's an issue for everybody.
It's her problem.
It's a healthy sexual relationship is important.
Well, yeah, but if she just doesn't want to have sex that night or whatever, you know, it's not like she's doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know. But I agree. Like if you're not having sex for like a year or something, that sucks. And then, so if that doesn't work, step 1, rebuke her privately, does not work. Step 2, rebuke her before witnesses. So you got to go in front of your Christian marriage counselor and let them know that your wife isn't having sex with you. And then step 3 is my favorite. It is bring her before the church. So if she still won't have sex with you after all that, you're going to take her to your pastor, and he's going to talk to her, and if she still won't have sex with you, it is because she is becoming an unbeliever. I can't find where it says that for the exact wording, but yeah. Let's see. So step 4, I can't find it, and we don't want dead air, so stop taking her on dates or trips.
So Joe, have you ever tried that one?
Yes.
So what if she is the main breadwinner? Then, but I guess these are Christians, and usually the man's the main.
Yeah,
breadwinner.
if you're
home mom.
Yeah, if you're not the breadwinner, Matt, what is wrong with you?
Oh yeah, I'm not a good Christian man. So, stop taking her on dates or trips. That is funny. Let's read a little bit from this one. Stop taking your wife to her favorite restaurants. Stop taking her out to those movies she wants to see.
You know what? Honestly, I would do most of these. No, listen, because if I'm in a relationship, and I want to have sex, and they just don't want to have sex anymore, then I probably shouldn't be in a relationship with them. And so I'm going to think about leaving them or whatnot. And then guess what? During all that, I'm going to stop doing nice things and stop taking them out and stop hanging out with them. And does that make sense?
Well, kind of, but
I think it's deeper than that.
The tone is absolutely wrong. Like, so your wife or your significant other isn't just like there for you to have sex with.
And I know, but at first I'm going to discuss it with her. It's like, okay, well, what's going on? What can we do to fix this?
But I think if you're having those problems, defining the relationship conversation is the way to go. Not, I'm going to be passive aggressive with this shit.
No, yeah, you got a point.
Yeah.
And a lot of these are very passive aggressive.
Yeah. I think that's perfect. You need to discuss it and define the relationship and what you both want out of it. And if
either of you are unhappy with the result, then something needs to be changed, like a divorce or a breakup or obviously more counseling.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, step 1, shame her in private. Step 2, shame her in public. Step 3, shame her in front of your church people. Step 4,
that's all ridiculous.
Step 4, stop taking her, like, withhold power. Show that you are the powerful one in the relationship. Step 5, show more that you are the powerful one in the relationship.
No unnecessary household upgrades. Is that a real one?
Step 5, yeah. So, ordinarily, I am all for a husband funding things like new furniture for the house or new paint for the walls. Wives will come to their husbands for these and many other household things. What you need to do as a husband is, unless it is a true family need and not just an upgrade to something, do not allow it.
If she's not giving you sex.
If she's not giving you wake-up blows.
Yeah, and
I love wake-up blows.
Step 6, become a total fucking bitch.
Stop doing the little extra thing.
Yeah.
You know those dinners you cook, but this is a Christian family, so it's probably like once a month?
Yeah.
Or the vacuuming that you never do? Stop doing those things you never do.
She should be doing for herself, but you have simply been trying to be nice and doing for her. Stop doing that. Stop giving her those nice back and shoulder massages she loves so much. This is ridiculous.
This is awful. Remember, we have 2 more to go.
We're actually reading?
Yeah, I was reading that.
Yeah. Step 7.
Remove her funding. Don't give her an allowance. She's not giving you wakey blankies. Wakey blowies. Don't give her an allowance.
Oh, this is awful.
This step may only
Change
work
your
if your
bank
wife
account?
does not have her own income.
Dude, change your bank account so her ATM card becomes worthless. That is the most deceitful.
This is
awful
very
thing.
passive-aggressive, very cruel.
And then what if none of these 7 steps work, Joe? What do you think their solution is?
I'm guessing if none of these work, starve her. When she's on the brink of death, tell her, I've got something for you. I got something you can eat all night. And then if she still doesn't do it, punch her in the gut. Maybe tie her up downstairs, throw dog biscuits at her head.
No, you have the option to divorce her for her sexual immorality.
Yeah.
Oh, that's immoral. That's being immoral.
It's a sin for her not to give you wakey blows.
Oh, wakey blowies. I wish it rhymed more. I think that's why I said wakey blakies.
Yeah. Wakey sucky? I don't know. By the next podcast, we'll have one that rhymes.
I'm sure we will. Yeah, that's all ridiculous. I think anyone in a healthy relationship is able to communicate with each other and come to a conclusion on why someone is not being sexually active in the relationship, and then a reasonable, logical, understanding couple will work through it. They'll find other ways to make it work, and if they can't, they will eventually end it civilly and try to, if they have kids, have some sort of friendly relationship afterward.
And I think that's great. And there's another article I think we should at least try to touch on, because this one's just as ridiculous as the one we just did.
Yeah, and real quick, I just wanted to clarify. They're really, after Matt and I checking it, there's really not an author tied to these. I don't know if that's because they're so controversial. But
so yeah, biblical gender roles. Is this the name of the website?
Yeah, biblicalgenderroles.com, and you can search it there.
I'm sure it's got to be affiliated with some sort of church, right? Can we find the church and maybe, I don't know, shame them or something? That'd be kind of fun.
Well, honestly, there are more important things that we could be doing with our time. It does look like it is written. It says contact me, and you can email them directly.
Maybe we can just email them, ask them if they're affiliated with any church, and if their church approves any of these articles.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
I'd like to go out on a limb and just guess that the author of these articles are male.
Yeah, I would think so. Because
I bet you anything, most of these articles have been written by this really sexually deprived guy. And so he writes these articles, and then he shows them to his wife. He's like, see? Look. See?
She's all, who was it written by? Biblical gender roles.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but see? You're supposed to be sucking my dick. So you better do it, or you're going to go to hell. Sinner.
All right, so let's go to the second article, Matt.
Okay, so the second one by...
See?
the same...
And actually, we've only got 2 minutes left, so me and Joe will step out if you want to just real quick explain that. And if we have any time left, then we'll make a couple of quick jokes. But go ahead and go into it.
So the article is titled, How a Husband Can Enjoy Sex That Is Grudgingly Given by His Wife.
Hate fuck.
So she's basically refusing sex, but she gives in, and it just gives you some pointers on how you can still enjoy it. I know one of them...
She's constantly rolling her eyes at you and asking you if you're done. Make a game out of it.
One of them is to
Every time she rolls her eyes, think about Jesus.
One of them is to not look her in the eyes.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this is real advice, Joe.
And I'm trying to get to the points.
Because of the shame and the hate that you are causing her, reflects in her eyes. To avoid the guilt, don't look her in the eye. Oh, my God. This is ridiculous.
So focus your eyes on her body, not her face. Focus on the visual pleasure you receive from looking at her body and physical pleasure you receive from being inside your wife.
How to rape your wife without feeling the guilt.
I know you love your wife. Most of us men love our wives. You want to connect with her physically and emotionally during sex. But your wife is the one refusing to connect with you emotionally. So you have to concentrate 100% on the physical side.
Really, that's all this is how to emotionally and sexually rape your wife without feeling the guilt.
Again, you know you want the emotional connection too, but your wife is the one who is in sin.
She's the one that's doing it.
Sinful rebellion against God's design for sex in your marriage.
And man was designed after God.
And is refusing to emotionally connect with you. So there's a conclusion we can hit on real quick. It is sad that any husband ever has to do this. It is sad that any husband ever has to rape his wife. Poor guy. This is not what God intended sex to be. But we live in a sin-cursed world. We are sinners, and so are our wives. Sometimes we have to work around the sinful behavior of our wives, and this will be one of those times. Go rape.
All right, so it's time to wrap it up. We've got a minute and 18 seconds left before this shuts itself down. So
that's fine.
So thank you guys so much. Do you guys have anything you want to wrap up with real quick?
Thank you for listening. We love you all.
Yeah, thanks for listening. You guys should come back and listen again, and check out our YouTube channels and all that we
I'm
mentioned
sorry,
in the
I've
beginning.
been missing a lot of the Evil Atheist YouTube videos. I have a new baby. I'm in more of a dedicated relationship now, and I've been extremely busy. But expect me soon.
Yep, and so you can find us on Facebook at The Evil Atheists or White Owl Gauges. Please find us there and like us, and we hope to hang out with you. Leave comments in the comment sections, and until next time, remember to be passionately thoughtful. Or to think passionately.
No, let him do it again.
All right. And until next time, remember, think passionately.
Yay.